Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your morning commute with Lynx. Yes. Woke up this morning and oh my God, it is 36 degrees outside up here in Boston. Now, I have something very, very important to talk about today. And by the time you hear this one, you would have already heard both arguments that are currently in the Supreme Court. Yesterday we heard the oral openings for and against Proposition 8. Today we get to hear arguments for and against DOMA. And of course, by the time I cover DOMA, you guys would have also already heard it. I hope. Because in all reality, this is something that we all need to be paying attention to. Why is it so important? Well, first, let's get rid of some of the misconceptions that a lot of straight people have. A lot of straight people are under the assumption that all these things do is keep people from marrying in a church. The way it has been the way Prop 8 and DOMA has been basically advertised is as something that, you know, keeps us or keeps the sanctity of marriage whole or normal or status quo. So the thing is that our Constitution never really defined marriage as between a man and a woman. So DOMA does so. Not great. For those of us who are married, or for those of us who are thinking about getting married, what DOMA means to you is that there are 1,138 different protections that are afforded to straight married couples. This is clearly discrimination. I mean, that's obviously what it is. But you have straight people believing that it is all about religion and forcing religion to do what the general public or what non-seculars or whatever wants them to do. I want to quell that myth. That is not what this is about. This is quite honestly and quite frankly about those 1,138 different rights that we are denied. Denial of rights. That is unconstitutional. Especially given that it interferes with one's pursuit of happiness. That is what we want. And not just that, because marriage equality is only the tip of the iceberg. I mean, think about right to work, in which there are, what, 29, I think there were 30 states, but now there's only 29, in which you could be fired for being gay or denied a job for being gay. And not just being gay, but perceptively. If they perceive that you might be gay, they can deny you employment. Once again, unconstitutional. It is discrimination. That is what these fights are about. These fights are not about, you know, a false, you know, pretense of forcing a church to do what is against that religion. No, you have freedom of religion, and if the church wishes to deny your ceremony, so be it. But this isn't about the church. It's about government recognition. A marriage is nothing but a contract as far as the government is concerned. And that is all we want. We would like to be able to go to a justice of the peace if we have to, or have our own ceremony with an ordained minister and have that marriage be legally recognized and have us afforded the exact same protections that straight people are afforded. That is what it's about. It is not about religion. It is not about a church. People put their religion into it But you have to put your religion aside when you're thinking about people as a whole. We're not all the same religion. We're not all of the same cloth or background. We're just not. So, and that's just something, you know, we all have to deal with and understand. That we're not all thinking the same way. So what you have to do is you have to think in terms of who's a human and who's not a human. And as far as I'm concerned, we're human. We deserve those basic liberties, those civil rights, those civil liberties, all of that. We deserve it. Why? We pay taxes, we work, we're productive members of society. We take your unwanted children. You don't want them. So we take care of them and give them a loving home. You know, what is wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. So yesterday we heard the arguments for and against Prop 8, all of which, you know, the arguments for Prop 8, none of them made any sense. None of them made any sense. To the point where, you know, when you're making the Supreme Court laugh at your assessment, you're not doing it right. You know, they came up with so many stupid arguments, such as marriage being, you know, for the use of procreation, and that's what it's about. And it's kind of like, you know, well, then why do we not deny couples over the age of 55 the right to vote? You know, what couple over the age of 55 will be bringing children into the world? Well, the woman's already barren. She's, you know, gone through menopause. And yes, men tend to continue to be able to make babies, but you're making babies with who? This woman who can't have babies? So the argument that marriage, you know, as an institution for, you know, bringing children into the world is kind of dumb. Now, what I didn't like about the argument against Prop 8, because, I mean, once again, his arguments were basically just logical and common sense. What I did not like was that no one went into the history of marriage, especially when the judge challenges, one of the judges, justices, challenges with the idea that marriage as an institution that, you know, as we know it, has always been that way. And they never went through the history of what marriage really was. And for those of you who don't know, here's a quick history lesson. In the beginning, marriage was about a contract between two people in order to continue to produce and prosper monetarily. So someone who was a farmer would go and find himself a woman who was the child of a farmer, someone who can help him with the work. You know, someone who could raise children and knew how to raise crops. And it went like that for almost every single profession that was known. Blacksmiths, they went with, you know, the female daughters of blacksmiths. You know, the female daughters who knew how to actually go ahead and, you know, do blacksmithing work and deal with the business end of things. It was always a business contract. The religious aspect of it is relatively new. You know, Christianity as a religion is relatively new. Most religions in terms of human history are relatively new. In which, you know, marriage was a thing. But even then, that did nothing. Really, lady? You're stopping traffic so you can pull out. You're a cunt. Sorry, I had to use the C word. But, yeah, I mean, this is what a marriage initially was. It was initially a contract between two people to make business work. And, you know, to raise children that knew the business. It didn't be, you know, people didn't start marrying for love until the Victorian age. You know, that's when people started marrying for love. Before then, you married for profit, or your marriage was arranged, and that arrangement was often for profit. So there goes your little history lesson on marriage. So none of them touched that. They didn't touch on that at all. You know, the fact that marriage as we know it is relatively new. and has nothing to do with marriage as it was seen even in America up until that Victorian age and whatnot. So, but yeah, the arguments were what the arguments were. I'm feeling very positive about the outcome because it's idiocy if you can't see the common sense in all of this. So I'm hoping and praying that everything goes the way it's supposed to go with this. I really am. Something that made me very angry, though. Why are we at each other's throats? Why are the gays at each other's throats over this? I mean, it feels very Martin Luther King versus Malcolm X. Some people are saying that, some gays are saying that, violence is not the way. Some gays are saying that we need to take action, and action is the only thing that these people will ever understand. We need to take action. I'm one of those people that feel that we need to take action, any kind of action, because this is something I will no longer tolerate. I simply won't. But to hear and to see the division amongst our own people, and how poorly we treated each other, how poorly we spoke to each other, it was disheartening. It was downright disgusting. In a time when we should be coming together and thinking of compromised ways, how do we peacefully take action? How do you take the best of both worlds? No one gave that any thought as to how to take the best of both worlds and come up with a plan B. Because that's really what we are going to need. We're going to need a plan B. If the courts do not find in our favor, what is plan B? Some form of action needs to be taken. And to sit there and have to hear people and read people trying to be right as opposed to listening to each other, I found it repulsive. It was the biggest turnoff I expected us to come together the way we did with the AIDS crisis. I expected us to just treat each other much better than we did, and it was kind of ridiculous. And of course, there's nothing more mature than having an online argument, which, hell, I'm just as guilty because I was participating in that argument, getting pissed off at people who just did not seem to understand the ramifications or the importance of it. And having the balls to be the people that say this type of shit without having ever participated in a demonstration for gay rights, have never been arrested or attacked for protesting or participating in a gay rights rally, people who have never run a donation, a fundraiser, they've never done anything, and it seems like they are just content to change their Facebook picture and think that that's doing enough, and it really isn't. I understand it is showing, a show of unity and solidarity and support, and that we're all united standing on this front. That's what it shows, and that's great, but no action has been taken, and instead of taking any action, all they'd rather do is change their Facebook icon. It's like, how about you actually do something about this? You can't sit here and bitch about it if you're not willing to do something about it. And that's what pissed me off. My plan is we hit them where it hurts, spread the word to every single homosexual If the court finds in our favor, great, we all have a party. If the court does not find in our favor, then we take action. And I am suggesting a peaceful action. The peaceful action that I am suggesting is a gay walkout. Every person who is not straight, gay, transgender, bisexual, omnisexual, whatever the fuck you want to call yourself, if you're anything other than identifying as straight, they don't find in our favor, I suggest we don't do a stitch of work. We boycott work. We buy no goods. We buy no services. Our dollar is very important, and anything our justice system has shown us is that they love money. Politicians' votes can be bought, which means they love money. And if you hit them in their money, they will shut the fuck up and they will listen. And that is what I propose. I propose we hit them in their money. We take our money out of the banks, we invest them in local credit unions, or we create our own. We take our money out of the banks, we take our money out of the stock market, we take our money out of circulation for them. Our dollar is actually more powerful than the dollar of a heterosexual couple. Why? Because a heterosexual couple has children. Those children mean that they're broke. There is not very many straight couples out there that are making in the millions. It's just not happening. So every dollar that they spend has to count. We could spend frivolous money. We can spend money on clothes and fun and all this other. Take it away. Take it away until they hear us. I assure you, once their wallets are hurting, they'll hear us. But that's all I got for you guys today. Spread that word. Once again, this has been your morning commute with Lynx. We're doing this with the Mail Media Mind, which I am so happy to be working with. You can find them at mailmediamind.com. You can find me at lynxbear.com. You can also look me up on YouTube as Lynxbear. You can find me on Facebook as Lynxbear, or you can like my page at Brutal Lynxbear, or you can find me on Twitter at Lynxbear. And until then, I will talk to you guys tomorrow.